on, John. Let's be serious.
Hi Katie, how are you today?
Hi, John. I'm well.
So welcome to a brief introduction to a concept called standard work. Now you may have heard about this concept before in lean or continuous improvement circles, and I'm going to give you a brief introduction to it today that will help you on the journey. It's going to create significant improvement to your productivity and create significant benefits to your business.
By definition, standard work is an evolving system to control and remove process variation based on the creation, use, and the improvement of documented standards. Standard work is the work that everyone does as normal, day-to-day tasks. Now we know that process variation, particularly when it's uncontrolled or unplanned, always leads to waste. So, standard work that is well-defined and structured helps us to drive out waste.
That's right. For example, when Toyota builds a car, they want to make sure that the steps the workers are following are precise, accurate, and repeatable. You don't want one of the car production crew making up their own techniques or processes, since this would either lead to quality issues or poor production performance. Why? Because it's uncontrolled variation. This is where standard work comes in. If everybody's working to a standard way of doing something, using the correct work instruction, then if there is a variation in production, it must be related to something they didn't expect, like raw material variation or equipment variation. That's why Toyota spends a lot of time assessing the raw materials before they put them into use. They also spend a lot of time maintaining the equipment to drive out variation. Additionally, they spend a lot of time training their staff to follow the procedure correctly.
When we mention work instructions, they're the same as standard operating procedures, or SOPs. We're going to show you a little more of what they look like in a few minutes.
Standard work is a part of a system called work standardization or standardized work. It typically comprises of three components: takt time or production rate, work instructions, and the control of inventory. Today, we're going to focus on one of the easiest aspects to implement: standard work instructions or standard operating procedures.
Standard operating procedures can be a fundamental platform or quite mature, like at Toyota. But it's a journey. Let's just start somewhere. There are three fundamental building blocks of standard work: standard operating procedures, skills matrix, and training records. Please look out for an important tutorial video called Standardized Work. Best practice creating standard operating procedures. This video will give you a lot more detail than what we can cover today.
So what is an SOP? It's a step-by-step set of instructions compiled to help workers carry out complex but routine operations. It aims to minimize variation, create uniformity, thereby achieving efficiency, improving productivity. It's easily understood via a simplified format with minimal words and plenty of simple pictures. It's easily accessible to those who are using it. It simplifies training and is connected to the organisation's skill base. It has an approval and version control mechanism to ensure we're using the most up-to-date version. And it has a standard format throughout your organisation. Don't change it from one department to another. While I'm regularly using the word simplify, it doesn't mean we're taking shortcuts.
This is an example of an SOP. There are some simple components that I'd like to show you. 1. The document contains a header where the title is shown. 2. It also contains a footer where the document control, date, version, and approver is shown. 3. The first left-hand column is the procedure overview, where the main categories of the document are shown for easy reference. 4. The second column is where the bulk of the instructions are shown. 5. The first row of information is always marked for safety information, such as PPE and reference to other safety procedures. 6. Then there might be a second row for listing equipment and a third row for pre-operating steps. 7. Then comes the bulk of the procedure, written in steps, showing the necessary information using dot points with clear and simple photos, explaining the step. Try to avoid lots of wording, keep it simple, concise and easy to understand.
The procedure should also contain equipment references on how the machine is to be set up, with even measurements and specific settings. If this machine information is too lengthy, then create a separate document and link the two via a reference. Also, perhaps even include quality checks that are used throughout the process. These can be easily written into the SOP. So, pretty straightforward, hey?
As mentioned earlier, the SOP should be easily available to the team. So, maybe it can be stored like this example at the machine or the workstation.
The second item I'd like to cover as part of standard work is the skills matrix. Like this example, the skills matrix has 3 parts. 1. The list of SOPs along the top. 2. The list of people or team members along the left-hand side. And 3. The required skill in the centre. You could even have it colour-coded to show what skill is required and what skill is yet to be attained. With this second example shown here, you could even differentiate between the different levels of skill in the same procedure. This example shows that there is not just an attained skill, but 3 levels of skill shown by the different colours.
You could go even further and place in the cell the date that the skill is planned to be trained. This way the team knows when the person is being trained. Sort of a training plan, just one word of caution. If you're going to put a scheduled date for training, then please stick to it.
I would encourage you to determine what people require what skill and then just go and create the matrix.
Thanks, John. The third item in standard work is the training record. This example shows 1. The trainee and trainer details at the top. 2. The list of SOPs down the left-hand side. In the additional columns, showing the trainee sign-off, the assessment date and the trainer sign-off, and 3. At the bottom, the final sign-off for the record.
This record can then form part of the person's employment record. Obviously, this is something that would be kept secure in the office, or better still, scanned and stored in a database.
Can I please just cover one more thing while we're here? John, what happens if we've trained everybody and there's one part of the SOP that people seem to struggle with? Maybe they just keep forgetting to follow it, or maybe we've done a problem-solving activity to resolve the issue that maybe was causing waste and we've identified part of the SOP that has a gap.
But Katie, we've assessed the SOP and we've found that there's no need to add any further information.
So John, we use a document called 1-point lesson. Like this example shown here, a 1-point lesson is a single-page document which highlights or focuses on one step of the SOP that needs to be strengthened or reinforced. It features document control, approval dates and is linked to the SOP. It complements the SOP, not replaces it, and always resides at the workstation for easy access. There are 4 main parts to the 1-point lesson. 1. The header, which tells us it's a 1-point lesson. 2. The document details, name, date, etc. 3. Photos for ease of communication. 4. Short, concise instructions. And 5. At the bottom, a reference to the owner, approver and the SOP.
Katie, thank you very much for that. So guys, that brings us to the end of this short video on standard work. Katie, let's just recap very quickly for the audience. Standard work is going to significantly improve your productivity and bring lasting benefits to your business because it's a system to control and remove process variation based on the creation, use, and improvement of documented standards.
That's right, John. There are 3 fundamental building blocks of standard work: standard operating procedures, skills matrix, and training records.
I'd encourage you to check out the video on creating standard operating procedures and just start the journey. Well guys, thank you very much for your time today. I hope you've gotten something out of this video. You've certainly been a great audience. Thank you. Goodbye and see you next time.
And it's goodbye from me. See you real soon.